So, hi and welcome. We actually need, I think, to look at the difference between our desires and our needs. When I have a client, the first thing I ask when they first come to me is, what is the difference for you between your desires and your needs? And I have them write it out before we even start our session. They write out what are their needs, and then on another page, what are their desires? This is very important because in my work, I like to work by meeting people where they are. Because most of us have never accepted who we are, where we are in our lives, and the different experiences of our lives. And to me, acceptance is the clue to being at peace with ourselves. Acceptance of every single desire that's either been met or unmet, and also the ways in which we meet our needs. So, what are our needs? Our needs are very basic. Personally, in my opinion, we only have a certain amount of needs. We have some very basic needs. So, to me, one of the basic needs that we have is air, the most basic need, because we can do without a lot of things, but we cannot do without air. So after about 3 seconds, or even 3 minutes, maybe we can do that, but after that, forget it. Then we also can do without shelter or the need for safety, although according to Maslow, those are some of the things that we do need: shelter, the feeling of safety. But that's not really true. It's a desire. What we really need is air, water. Those two we cannot do without, and sleep. At a very distant fourth comes food. But food comes in many forms. It can be the physical form as food, such as eating an apple, or a pear, or a mango, or squash. It could be healing on a very deep emotional level. It could be healing on a physical level. That could be the food that sustains us. That's nourishment. It could be also on a mental level. So those are our needs. They're very basic. And in a different episode, I will go into all of Maslow's wheel of the needs that he saw as having, which also includes the feeling for security and for shelter. Although I don't include those, because many people can live without shelter and they enjoy it thoroughly. And maybe we need to start going out more outdoors and living more for life outdoors to realize exactly what our true needs are. But we have a lot of desires. So desire is a want. A desire is something that we want, that we feel will make us feel better about ourselves, will make us happy, or that will bring us joy. But the truth is that joy comes from within. We already have joy. It's internal. It's already in us. We don't have to go out and seek it. That's the beauty of living and being alive, is that we have joy already within inside ourselves. So we don't have to seek it. We already have it. Everything that we need in life, we already have. What we need externally are the three basic needs: air, water, and we also need sleep. So you might say, but why does she keep saying food when we do need food to live? Well, there are breatharians who just live off of breathing and the waters. So some people say we need sun, we need sunshine, we need sunlight, we need sun, but we have daylight, and it doesn't matter even if it's for a short time in the winter. The sun is always there. We might not see it, we might not feel it because the clouds have covered it, but it's there. It's just moved to a different part, of the world. The planet is moving. We are on a moving planet. So that's all there is to that. So it's important to know what our desires are, because it is the desires that fuel our ruination. It is the desires that creates all these wants, all these unnecessary purchases, It's the desires that create our misery, which is why I spend so much of my time not chasing my desires, but finding out what they are, what are the desires that are driving me so that I can let go of them. Because as long as I am tuned into them or not tuned into them and they're in charge, that spells misery and that limits the amount of healing that can take place. And I have devoted the rest of my life from now on until I leave this body to healing. Healing is very important. For me, it's one of my greatest desires is to heal. And maybe I need to let go of that because, again, that's a desire. Because healing is not just about us. It's about the generations before us, the things that were passed on from generation. It's the intergenerational stuff that's been passed on to us that we need to heal as well. I did a lot of work with with therapists that work for Bert Hellinger on his family systemic constellation work of the intergenerational traumas and healing them. And I was just amazed at the intensity and the importance of this work. And I think it's something that we all need to do at some point in our lives. And I suggest if you have a chance to work with a therapist, I was actually being trained as a therapist for it, but I stopped because I just felt that the work was just burying me. It was so laden with so much trauma that I was exhausted. At the end of every session and in every training, I was just so exhausted, and I was exhilarated to return the next day, but I found that I was not the person to be a therapist for it because I was taking on too much of what was happening. So maybe sometime in the future, if I've gone to a place where I no longer do that, I can go back and do it. But if you can find an intergenerational therapist and work with them, I strongly suggest that. Now let's go back to why it is that we have these desires. One of the reasons why we have these desires is because most of the desires are not our own. They're the desires of our parents that we inherited, or grandparents or great-grandparents, or if just society have laid onto us and told us that we need these. We need this. Do we need to work? Do we really need to work? Do animals need to work? We even have animals working for us now. No, we don't need to work. It's just something that we have been trained by society and that we ourselves have adopted and adapted to. So we need to start differentiating between our desires and our needs and see which ones work for us and which does not. And how we obtain more air, more clean water and clean air, and sleep, not in detriment to anybody else or to ourselves, but how we can make sure that not only we have, but that everybody has it as well. Because it's not important enough for us to have something. The question is, are we taking it away from anybody else, and is someone else paying the price for what our desires are? So I'm going to be going into depth in this in future episodes. I trust that you will partake in it by either letting me know below what are your own feeling about your needs and desires, which desires you wish to drop, which ones are leading you, because our desire for alcohol is just that, it's a desire, but it leads us down rocky roads of tremendous amount of degradation, and it is at the cost of our integrity and our spirit. And also, what do you think is the reason why we feel a need to drug ourselves? It's not a need, it's just a desire. So we need to start looking at the difference between our desires and our needs, and ways in which we can make sure that everybody's basic needs are met. And I think once those needs are met and people don't have to toil for them, don't have to beg for them, I think then it's much easier to differentiate between them and our desires. And then we can start looking at our desires and healing what is behind them. So thank you for tuning in today. I look forward to more of these little elegantly raw tidbits with you. And please subscribe and click the notification button. And you can subscribe also to my YouTube channel, because that's where you'll find these on a daily basis. Thank you. Actually, Monday to Fridays at this time. Thank you so much, everyone. And I look forward to